Hello everyone. I hope you are doing well. And this is Dr. Muhammad Imran Qureshi. Today, I'm really excited to teach you some very important AI based tools which we can use for systematic literature reviews. And this is a very exciting times because we have new announcements of many AI based softwares and the systems which can help us in writing in a better way. So this would be a very interesting topic, but we need to learn how we can use these AI tools for our systematic literature reviews. Obviously, the utilization of these systematic tools or AI based tools for it's all over the disciplines, and every disciplines or the professions have been affected by these AI based tools, especially the chat GPT. And Scholarly is also another AI based tool which already changed a lot of things around us. So let's see how we can utilize these tools and techniques in order to get our systematic literature review. So today's learning would be mainly focus on understanding of these systematic literature review processes and how we can use and where actually we can use this AI based tools for assisting us in writing systematic literature review process. And then we'll try to understand the quickly how we do the systematic literature review process, and then finally where we need it and how we use these applications. So today my session would be brief and focus on two important tools, which are Scholarly and ChatGPT. So I'll take you through one example and we'll try to apply that example on ChatGPT. I have not done it yet, but I will try to learn with all of you, and then we can see how we can utilize these tools and techniques for your writing of systematic literature review. So before moving further, just to make sure, we have already done many workshops on systematic literature review writing. So I'm not going into the details of all the process and all the steps we follow in systematic literature review process. For that, you can watch my previous videos. Here, I will briefly go through the process, and then we'll quickly learn how these AI-based tools can help us in writing and synthesizing our systematic literature review process. So for that reason, I might be taking you through the process step by step, but quickly and briefly, and then later on we can work on the process of working with Scholarly and ChatGPT. Just give me one moment. Okay, so let's move on. So the first thing is systematic literature review. What exactly systematic literature review is? For those who are joining us for the first time, you should be able to understand that systematic literature review is a process through which we systematically identify the relevant literature and try to investigate from the literature what exactly is available and how we can synthesize the available literature. So that is a scientific method. That's why no matter if anyone follow the same steps, the results would be same. So the purpose of systematic literature review, I have discussed this many times. It's basically to minimize the impact or biasness in the literature, to highlight where the not sufficient work has been done. We also try to find out what needs to be done in the future. So all these are different purposes of systematic literature review. So we have discussed all these steps and processes and purposes in different videos, so you can watch those videos in order to understand what exactly systematic literature review is and how we conduct it. But quickly going through the systematic literature review process, because that is very much important, especially while we are using AI based tools, because with these AI based tools there is an ongoing debate of ethical concerns are also there. So means that if we copy everything from the AI tools and we are not writing by ourselves, or we are not generating any concepts, and we are just trying to learn from the literature using AI tools, that would be a very different idea, and that might raise some ethical concern from the researchers and from the journals as well. For now, I don't see any policy from the journals or from major websites, Scoopers or Web of Sciences. So how to deal with these AI-based systems and tools. But for now, I believe we can use it, but with some ethical concern or some limitation. So let's try to learn systematic literature review process, exactly what exactly systematic literature review process is. Just give me a moment. Sorry for interruption, guys. Okay, so the steps are very simple. We discussed these steps in our previous videos as well. First thing is conceptualization. So you develop the concept, set up the objective, pose your research question, and then go with the search strategy, how we can search the relevant literature, extract your data, and finally we synthesize and report our results. Now, this is where exactly we are using a AI-based tool, which is synthesis and analysis of your literature. So I will give you a brief idea how we do literature review by using different tools, which we have already covered in the previous videos, and we'll go through this one as well. So conceptualization is very clear. You develop research question, identify measurables, and determine your outcomes. They are simple process. So we post a research question, and then we identify what exactly we need to measure, and finally we have our expected outcomes in our mind, and then we move on with the process. Okay, so the search strategy, obviously we use different search tools and different databases. So what we do, we define the keywords, we select the databases, we identify the relevant literature, and use the quality measurement criteria and protocols, and then extract the record. And this is also we can do through Prisma framework. So we follow the Prisma framework carefully, and in those Prisma frameworks we have all these steps where we can do all this data extraction and quality criteria, inclusion and exclusion criteria can be implemented through Prisma framework. So these are different databases from where we can extract the records or extract the results. So Prisma framework, obviously we discussed this Prisma framework many times in our research and many times in our systematic literature review videos. So prefer reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. This is called Prisma framework. So this is a diagram for just to remind you how we start with the general. We have many studies, then we try to remove the duplicates, we try to remove irrelevant records, and then we come up with a small number of research articles which usually we use in our research. This is how Prisma framework actually works. So this is different steps. There are 4 different steps in the Prisma framework. We identify, we screen the data, we check the quality assessment, and then we include the final number of research articles or the records in our database. So usually we extract in Microsoft Excel from where we use different tools to classify our literature. So once we are done with this Prisma framework, we have our Excel sheets. The next step is to work with those Excel sheets and we try to classify our literature. Now, what does it mean to classify? We divide them into different categories. So in one video, I have already explained what type of methods you can use for segregate or segmentize or clustering your available data set. Okay, so that we can use non-judgmental or judgmental methods. So if I go through quickly, these are some descriptive in nature or non-judgmental method, which is basically based on number of years, geographic distribution, titles of research, weightage, fields, citations, and all this. And this is how we represent this information in our research article, in our systematic literature reviews. I'm quickly going through this because this has been covered in many previous videos. So that is not my concern for today, but let me go through this process and I will tell you where exactly we are using these AI tools for writing our systematic literature review. So these are different types of the tables and charts which we usually use in our systematic literature review articles and we display in our research. Okay, now Similar to this, we have some judgmental criteria as well. Now, the judgmental criteria are mainly focused on the opinions of the researcher, how you classify, how you clusterize the existing studies. For example, we have many different methods of doing this. The judgmental, for example, method based, the treatment, the relationship, contextual, theory based, construct, conceptualization. There are different methods, and many methods are available that mainly depend on how do you think you can divide your literature based on your research question, and then understand each cluster separately, and then we try to come up with an idea from those different classifications. So these are different methods of classification which we can use, and we can display again in different distribution methods. Now, exactly what I did, I have explained different methods of classifying the literature. For example, if I have many studies, I divide them into different classification, and these classification can be represented in different ways. So how we do that? Now, if you check on this, just if you check on this for systematic literature review, when we do classifications, we use different tools and techniques for dividing our literature in different categories or clusters. This is where we use WASP viewer. This is where we have used our Biblioshiny and different text mining tools which actually divide our data based on the meta data and keywords and all those repetitive terms which we use in our abstract and title, and we divide our literature. So once the division has been done, the next step would be synthesis. Now, the literature synthesis is something we learn from the literature and we come up with an idea or the conclusion or the consensus from different segments and clusters. Okay, now these are simple steps. So we started with research question, we have done with the data extraction, then we divide literature into different classification. So once we are done with the classification, we learn from those classification and use them to synthesize the literature and come up with the conclusion or theory. Now, this is whole literature review process. Now, where do we need these AI based tools and how we can use them in our research? That's important question, and that's the main idea of today's online session. The first thing is, for example, let's try to learn how do we do the literature review process the way I taught you in different videos. So first we define objectives, and then we extract data or records from different sources, right? So this is the stepwise discussion of the literature review process. So once we have extracted all these records, the next step would be to combine them, right? So we have one Excel sheet, so one Microsoft Excel sheet, and then we classify these records into different categories or different clusters. These clusters we can develop by ourselves, but we also use different tools and techniques for dividing these literatures or these studies into different categories. Okay, for example, I have combined 100 studies, and then in each cluster we have 25 studies. This is just for illustration purposes. That might be in your case there is a different number of studies in each cluster, but this is just to take an illustration, take an example of how we work with this systematic literature review process. So we extracted, and each of these steps which I just discussed is already available in our previous video, so you can go and find out how we have done this process and how we use different tools and techniques to work with these clusters. And how to develop these clusters? We used R, Biblioshiny, we use SiteSpace, we use WASP Viewer, we use Excel sheet. All these are tools and techniques which we have learned to classify our literature. So we have classified based on text mining. For example, if we are using WASP Viewer or Biblioshiny, we can just learn from the keywords or index keywords, and then we can use that to find out whether there is clusters available in your data or not. So this is a simple process to classify or to clusterize your existing studies, and then we divide them into small segment based on these was viewer and these different softwares. Okay, so they are just text mining software, they are not exactly AI based software. So this is the first step we have done. Now let's move on. This is where we have already classified our literature into different categories. Now let's try to learn how do we work. The next step is actually working within the classification. This is where your AI based tools will work for you, and we can learn from AI based tools and work within the literature classification. For example, you have studied 25 studies in literature 1, classification 1. This classification is maybe subcluster based on maybe theoretical development, maybe method based, or maybe any of your justification which you have provided for classifying that literature, or you have used tools, for example VOSviewer or Biblioshiny, to classify these literature into different categories. Now working within the literature classification is little bit tricky, and this is where a lot of work has been consumed, and the researcher, they have some difficulties in working within the literature classification, because we have many studies in one cluster, for example 25 research article or 20 research articles. So how do we compile them, and how do we work within the cluster? That's the important part, and that's where AI based tool will help you to understand and to rework with your literature. So if I conclude here, we have identified the relevant literature, we extracted the record in Microsoft Excel, we use pivot tables or any other software, for example bibliometrics software, just to classify your literature into different categories. And then now we are working within each category differently. For example, classification 1, classification 2, and then classification 3, or might be cluster 1, 2, 3, or 4. In your case you have maybe 4 cluster or 4 segments of your research article. Now once we are done with these clusters, we can learn from each of these clusters and come up with a final idea, which is your literature synthesis. Okay, so now this is where we can work within the classification, and then we will learn and come up with the final idea of our research articles, and that would be called your literature synthesis. Now this is where you will be using different tools, and these tools are basically, the first one is Scholarly, and the second one is your ChatGPT or OpenAI. Let me work with these tools. For example, let's just work with this Scholarly. So this is the Scholarly website. This tool will help you to summarize your research articles. Okay, so if you have, for example 25 research articles, now it is your time, you want to learn from each of these research articles, and you try to find out the findings. For that purpose you need to read the whole article, and if there are 100 articles in your research, it means that you need to learn from the 100 article, and that might be a difficult task. Okay, to make this work easy, I'm using this tool. It's very handy tool, Scholarly. It's very simple. Let's see how it works. For example, if I have a complete research article, let me just download any research article. For example, this is one of my research article recently published, so we can just download this article. I'm just trying to download this research article so we can import this article into Scholarship, and then we can see how it generates the summary and other information from that article directly. So we don't need to read the whole article, we can just use this summary and this research. Okay, so this is the research article. Now I have already downloaded this research article, so I'll just go to this Scholarship website and I will upload this document. Now once your document is being uploaded, it will automatically create all the information which we need from this article, and that information directly we can use in our classification, literature classification within the classification, where we are talking about the different research articles and how they contributed to some sub clusters or sub segments of your whole systematic literature review. For example, if I'm working for cluster 1 and this article is related with cluster 1, so here it is, it's done. Okay, now you can see the article title, non-thermal food processing, a step towards circular economy to meet sustainable food development goals. Okay, so now this is a very simple, way of summarizing your research article. So you can see all sections are there. So the key concept, these are the key concepts which we use in this research article. So it can be some sort of repetitive words or the key concepts available in this research article, so you can understand what exactly this article is talking about. Now you have different sections here. You have all these sections are available for you. For example, the abstract. So abstract is already available now and you can read this abstract. And from here, the synopsis. This is what this application have actually done. It has created an synopsis for your research article, and if you want to learn about this article in a very quick way, you can just learn from this synopsis, and the reference is already available. You can copy that reference in your research article as well. Okay, so this is where you can copy and paste, or maybe you can take these ideas and write in your research article. So if you want to see the quick highlights of the finding of the study, then you can just go ahead and click on this scholarship highlights. So it have created all these highlights of this research article with the references, and you can just copy those ideas and rework in your research article, and you can just try to tell us or just explain the research article in detail in your classification. And then if you want to see the summary again, now the good thing which I usually use is the summary is obviously generically available, but the thing is, the most important part in this summary, you will find all this information in introduction, limitations, findings, the key findings of the research, and then the conclusion which have been created with this scholarship. And then very important tool which is comparative analysis. It tells us what exactly this study has been done and what is the difference of this study with the previous one. So it took from your writing and give you the information about your research and the previous ones, what exactly your work and how it is different from the previous study. So this is where most of the time we are working within our cluster. So what we are doing, we are trying to write and we are trying to differentiate each study from the previous one. Okay, for example, the study A have done something, but that is different from the previous work and how it is different from the previous work. So this is a very useful information which we can utilize in our research, especially while we are writing within the clusters. Okay, and then if you want to bring these tables, the tables are available in Microsoft Excel. So all these tables used in this research article, you can just download them as an Excel sheet. If you want to copy the full text, that is also available. And now these are different parts: introduction, result, conclusion, limitation, study compliance, and most importantly the references, also available in downloadable format, and you can just download all the references of this research article. Now this tool is very much useful while we are working within the cluster. For example, if we have 25 research articles within one cluster, we can quickly upload them and copy the summary. Might be if you need the summary, if you need the highlights, or if you need the comparative analysis of each study, so you can use this direct information from Scholarly and copy and paste it in your research and rework based on and the ideas available in this. So you don't need to go through the complete article and then extract this information. This is the right information which we need in order to develop our consensus from the previous literature. So similar process I will do on all the research articles available in that particular cluster, and then we can copy them and copy the comparative analysis or the summary in order to utilize in our research. Okay, so that's how we do. We can also create some tables and figures from here, and that is very much useful idea for us. So it gives us all the complete information based on your work. Okay, so this is the first tool which we are using. In the second tool, I believe this explanation is fair enough. So if you have any question on this Scholarly, you can ask me. But the first thing is you need to try it. It's a really handy tool for you, and you can use it for free for now, I think for some time. But as you can see that I have not logged in, but still I can use it, and I'm using it for the free. So you can use this tool and you can extract this information which mainly we need to work in within the cluster in order to synthesize our literature. Okay, so especially when we are talking about the comparative analysis, this study or this application will give you a very clear understanding of your work and the comparative analysis from the previous work, so that you can extract and rewrite in your research. Okay, so that's the tool number one. Now I believe it's very clear. There is no, I believe there is no confusion on this. So once you learn, if you have any question on this, you can just type in the chat box, or you can type write us on your on our Facebook page. So we'll try to summarize those questions and try to create another video, detailed video on Scholarly as well. Now the second tool which I'm using is Chat GPT, which I believe everyone is talking about now. Okay, now this is a very important but very handy tool, and somehow there are some ethical concerns related to this application as well, because it can give you everything. If you want to write a complete research article, just give it some information and it will give you a whole new research articles based on your queries or based on your questions. So that's a very important and very powerful tool, and I believe nowadays it's ongoing debate on this, and you will hear this OpenAI everywhere because it have changed everything, and the people are using it in many different professions. For example, the people using it for the coding, you don't need to code anything. You can just ask this application to code it for you, and then obviously it will work for you. Now this application, we can use it for our research as well. Now, if you check on the information available here on chat gpt, so it gives you some examples how we can use this, what are the capabilities of this ai based software and system, and what are the limitations. Now, for example, if we are working on supply chain, for example, just now let's just talk about it, blockchain technology in supply chain. So now you can see it is giving me all the information which I need. Okay, now these are very important information, so it extract the information from all internet available sources and then compile it and give you information, required information based on your own, you know, research purposes. So if you can check on this, so it have already given me a complete information for writing. So for example, blockchain technology in supply chain. The blockchain technology has the potential to revolutionize supply chain management by improving transparency, traceability, and efficiency. Now these are the key terms which we do understand. Okay, so now these are information which we can use in our research. Now the good thing about this is it is completely AI based software, so there is no need for paraphrasing. But remember, there are some softwares which can detect that the content is being developed from AI based system. So I'm not sure how these journals and how these different databases are responding to this software, because it is recently developed and open for usability. So that's why I'm not sure about the ethical concern and the policy from the different journals. But for me, we can use it to create some consensus about the information we have in our classifications. For example, if I'm working on technological development in supply chain, now I have different blocks. For example, blockchain, I have big data, I have clouding. All these different technologies are being used in supply chain management widely. So if I want to work on blockchain, so let me think about, okay, the blockchain. So what about the blockchain? Now we have 25 research articles in this cluster, which is supply chain management, the blockchain technology in supply chain management. Now I want to generate a table which tells me the recent studies on using blockchain in supply chain management. So let's just try to figure out whether this AI based software can do it for me or not. So for example, create a literature table for utilization in, let's see what this software can do for you. Okay, now you can see the paper title, the number of year, the year in which the paper is published, and the summary of that research article. So the table is being generated, so I can see these studies, whether these studies are important for me or not. So I can refer back to the Google citations or all these databases, which journal it is published. So then I can come up with the idea and I can add and remove some studies from here. But the thing is, this software can do a lot for us in terms of writing specific themes and specific topic. Now I want this software, or I want it to generate this one, but with the author names. Now let's see how it works. Yeah, now you can see if it can give you information the way you need. Okay, so and even this chat, what you are doing with this chat GPT is, in continuation. So if you want the system to explain this table, it can also do it for you. There is a lot of application for these AI based uh, software, but the thing is how we use them in our research is more important than what we can do with this system. So what my understanding about this is, we can develop these tables or figures or understanding about some particular topic based on our research questions or the queries within the clusters, and then we can rewrite. So for example, I want system to explain this table. Now let's see. So this is trying to explain the table and available studies within this table. Okay, so this is the in continuation. So you can generate information which we were previously doing based on Google or any other search engine, and we were trying to extract the information. Okay, so now we can use, and the ability of this chat GPT to respond to the technical queries and very detailed and specific information is enormous for me. For example, if I want to see the theoretical development of theories in supply chain, so it can give you information which you need exactly the way you want it. Okay, so it will give you a few important theories which have been established in supply chain management, and you can use them as a reference point, and then you can go within the details and within the details, and it can give you all this information. Now, important thing, there might be a question whether this system or this chat GPT can give you the references as well. Yes, if you write any command and ask it to write with references or with citation, it will include the citation of those studies as well, and then you can use it. Okay, so you can see that the information with the citation is also available now, and you can refer back to the Google and Google Scholar and all other databases where you can find these references, and you can try to understand whether these are important work in your area of research or not. So these are different tools and techniques which we can use to write our literature review article. But the thing is, most important part is you need to develop the idea, and that idea is yours. Okay, so nobody can tell you about the development of the idea, the research question, and then you can classify the literature into different categories and work within the categories, and these tools can help you to work to do your work more quickly and more efficiently. And writing, obviously that's not a problem with chat GPT, but still, remember, there are some tools which can detect that these content has not been developed by the human, they are AI based content. So be careful on that part. And I'm not sure how these COPE or Committee of Publication Ethics or and other organizations or entities which handle all the publication process and transparency in the publication process, how they respond to these software. That is still a question, and it is a point of open debate whether we need to use it or not, and how or to what extent we can use these tools and techniques for us. But if you want this software to write a complete research article, it can do it for you. For example, So you can see it can give you information, it can work with your queries, and it can give you all the information available. But the thing is, it extract the information which is already available on the internet. I'm not sure whether this software have access to all the research articles and these databases and directly extracting that information from those sources, or if there is any other sources available from that. But whatever is it is doing, it is just retrieving the information available online and then try to analyze that information and organize in a way you need, and it provide you information. So we can use these skills or these techniques in our research, and we can try to rework our literature very quickly. So let's come back to the point. Okay, I believe you do understand, and now you can play with these two softwares and try to learn how we can use them. So let's just go with the thing which is more important. It is basically how systematic literature review works and where do we need to use this AI based tools. Okay, so first you need to develop your idea, you need to identify your question, then you need to search the literature. When you are done with the literature search, you have extracted the record. The next step is to divide that based on descriptive and judgmental methods. Once you have divided your literature into small portions or small clusters, then you need to work under each cluster. This is where, in my opinion, AI based tools and techniques are more useful, and you can use them in order to understand your in order to develop the information which you need in each clusters. And once you are done with that, finally you need to synthesize and combine all this information and come up with an idea or a theory which future researcher can use based on your research. So this is how systematic literature review works, and this is how we can use AI tools in order to develop in order to write our systematic literature review. And in future I might be developing some more videos based on each of these tools and how we use them, and with some practical example where I use them and I work with these tools and techniques in order to write a systematic literature review article. I believe this is it for today's session. This was very important session, but I want you to learn these software and work on these and try to learn these in order to utilize in your research as well. So Scholarship, and the second one is ChatGPT, which is very much famous nowadays, and everybody is talking about these two research tools. Okay, so thank you very much, and I believe this video was very much useful for all of you who are doing systematic literature review and they were worried about how we can write different concepts in our classifications and clusters, and how we can work quickly with those number of articles. For example, in each cluster you have 25 research articles. Whether do you need to read all of them and then summarize, or is there any tools available which can help us to summarize the existing research article in an efficient and quick way? Yes, there are tools which are Scholarship and ChatGPT which we can use for summarizing and extracting the information from the research article. And I will be working more on ChatGPT and will update you more information if I receive something interesting in ChatGPT, and I will update you all. So thank you very much. Now I am open for questions. So if you have any question, you can ask me, and then I would be happy to answer your question. Okay, let me. Okay, the question first is, there are two major limitations to ChatGPT, is that it is limited to 21 2021 and sometimes give wrong answers and summaries. Okay, for summaries, I believe you should use Scholarsys. Okay, that's the important software because we have our own research articles ready with us, and we can upload them, and then we can summarize the research article based on what about their finding using Scholarsys. Okay, so for summaries, use Scholarsys. Chat GPT I use to develop the key ideas within the cluster. For example, I gave you an example of this blockchains and supply chain management. So I realized that okay, there are four different types of the utilization of blockchains and in supply chain management: traceability, security, efficiency, and might be trackability. So these were four different aspects of blockchain technologies which I learned from ChatGPT because it can give you information available from different sources, and that would be the starting point of your thinking, and then you can rework on each of them separately and then ask ChatGPT to give you more detail. Yes, there are some limitations on ChatGPT, but remember, this is just a start. I'm not sure how this will work in future, but I'm pretty sure it will be very cool in the future as well. It is just started now. We'll see how this will work. Okay, can we submit multiple article together in Scholarly? Yes, but the thing is you need to buy a professional version for that. So if you're using free version, there are some limitations. So one by one, I prefer to do one by one. That's very important because I learn from each. And then comparative analysis. If you want to upload multiple files, obviously you need to buy some new features for that. Okay, can you import from Mendeley software? Yes, we can import. I have another video on importing from Mendeley software within Excel sheet. Okay, so from that, but if you want to work with the Scholarly, I believe you need to use PDF files because when you are downloading directly from the source, it has some metadata attached to that file, which I believe Scholarly is using for generating the summaries and all this information. Okay, so prefer directly download the PDF file and then upload in Scholarly. Okay, but obviously it can be used. Okay. Okay, kindly again tell me the name of softwares for SLR. So for SLR, we have many different software, and there is a series of videos which is available on our YouTube channel, so you can watch them. In each video, we are talking about a different software and the application of those software. So go ahead and watch all those SLR videos, and you will see different options. For example, Was Viewer we have done with the R Studio, we have done with the Biblioshiny, we have done with the Excel as well. So there are different software which you can use for systematic literature review, and the videos are available. Okay. How to differentiate literature into cluster? Any guideline? That's very important question. Now, this is where your critical working abilities are coming in. When we have the literature classification, we need to understand each classification should be differentiated based on clear, formation or clear understanding or the differences between the classification. For example, if we are talking about theoretical development, we might be talking about each cluster a different theoretical development. If we are talking about, for example, method-based classification, so each cluster should represent a different methodology. For example, qualitative and quantitative. This is just for illustration. Obviously, you have in-depth knowledge in your area, so you can classify them in a better way. But these clusters should be, homogeneous within the population and heterogeneous with other cluster. Okay, so there should be clearly distinction between each classification, and within the classification, studies should be homogeneous. It should not be like this. In one cluster you have all types of the studies, and there is a difficulty for you to sum up or synthesize all these literature because they are from different background, different studies. So try to differentiate each classification or cluster based on some rules or principles which you define. Okay, so that's very important part. So once you are done with that, it would be easier for you to work within the cluster. That's very important part of your writing. Okay. uh, yes, I would be doing a video on using AI softwares, and I would try to help you, because the question is this: would you be cool if you do a video on how to do SLR entirely AI based for all the steps? Yes, we can do that, and I'll try to prepare a video for that, but that video would be very lengthy. So we can divide that video into different, maybe 2 or 3 different episodes. So I'll try to work on this, and I'll give you guideline for AI tools and how we can use that, because it's not just that using AI tool, it is also ethical concern. So we need to understand, we need to keep a balance between these tools and techniques, and also where we are going into the plagiarisms and all this stuff. So I'll try to develop these videos which can help you to use these tools, but staying innovative and novel as well. So I'll try to make these videos. Okay. Okay, so how you can access Chat GPT software? So you can just write Chat GPT in Google. It's very famous nowadays, and you can easily access to this software, and there is no problem of using this software. And even similar is true for Scholarly. You can just write Scholarly and in Google, and you can find out this. Okay. Can we make bibliometric network figure with ChatGPT? I have not tried yet, but I don't think so, because the ChatGPT is a language-based software, so it gives you AI based on the language. But if you want to develop networks and all this, the R coding is already available. We have done some videos on bibliometrics using R, so you can use that. And also, if you want to develop beautiful diagrams and pictures, there are some other AI based tools which you can use for these type of diagrams and figures and network. But the software, for example, was viewer or biblioshiny or sitespace, they are using some mathematical calculations to develop these networks. Okay, and these calculation would be missing in any other software. Well, just creating the network diagrams. Okay, so I believe you should use these software, because it will give you based on your data. So Chat GPT, maybe it's not designed for that purposes. So I don't think so that would be helpful in that case. Okay. For paraphrasing, I'm using Quillbot. So Quillbot is another important software. So you can use a free version if you want to do the paraphrasing. So Quillbot is very important software, and now you can use Chat GPT as well. So it's also another way of paraphrasing. Okay. The Chat GPT can only analyze the article published within the last 5 years. So what I did, I tried it in different ways. Okay, so now this is your understanding how you use it. Okay, now what I did, when I asked it to analyze the previous literature, it brings only literature review articles. Okay, then the next command I gave, can you give me top 10 research articles based on empirical studies? So it gives me a different table. Then I ask for qualitative research, and it gives me different tables. Okay, so I can copy those tables and generate my own table based on these tables. But most importantly, the thing is that these studies which ChatGPT is including in that table, we need to check whether these studies are reliable, published in good journals, and have reputable citations or not. So there are some rework you must need to do in order to bring all these tables together in your research. Okay, so it's not about the last 5 years or 5 year or anything. It's about the way you talk to this Chat GPT. Okay, so if you have good command, you have good understanding of your research, so you can ask very relevant and direct question, and it will give you result. and then you can use them in your research. Okay, so that's the idea behind it. How can use these AI application to write SLR on experimental research, qualitative or quantitative, such as blockchain, IoT related article? Yes, this is what I just told. You can just give the command, okay, give me the table based on the quantitative studies, and it will give you all the information on the quantitative studies as well. So it's the way you interact with the software, okay? So it gives you option. So don't worry, it will give, it can cover all these qualitative, quantitative, or all other experimental base. So you just need to differentiate within your command, okay, within your syntax which you are writing to this software. Yeah, the recording will be available for live, and after this session you can watch this video later on as well. Thank you very much. uh, okay, so Sachin Singh asks, any framework TCCM or AFO on SLR on time series for costing? Now uh, it depends on the method. Okay, so if you are using any systematic literature review, but you want to divide that based on the forecasting methods, you can do it in literature classification, but the process would be same. Okay, the framework would be same. You need to follow the Prisma framework if you are writing systematic literature review based on AI, or sorry, time series, or based on any of these methods of empirical analysis. That's your choice. You can divide them in terms of classification, but the method or the framework will be using is same, Prisma framework, and you will follow all the steps which we have covered in systematic literature review. The only difference you will see is in your literature classification. So you can classify time series analysis in a separate classification, or any other methods of analysis in other classification, or even if within the time series analysis you can categorize 1, 2, or 3 different empirical methods for that. Okay, so this is possible, but this is need to be done within the classification. The rest of the process for systematic literature review is same. Okay, I think that's it. We are already over 1 hour now, so I believe for this session this would be enough. So I hope you learn about these tools today, and usually we can use these in our research as well. So if you have any question further on these utilization of these AI tools, or any query, so you can post me in the comments, or you can go to our Facebook page and ask these questions, and I will try to compile them and try to create another video for all of you. Thank you very much, and have a very nice day. Goodbye, and see you soon. Bye bye.